No!代表として選んでいただいたことを本当に感謝申し上げます。コースに落ちました。不合格になりました。日本語の才能が全くないかもしれません。
Turn back. Hey! Every 3 months there's a test in my school. I entered in level 5. Level 5, passed. Level 6, passed. Level 7, passed. Level 8, passed. Level 9, passed. Level 10, passed. Level 11, passed. Level 12. I failed. Too difficult. It was too difficult. I passed the listening, the writing, the speaking, the presentation was pretty good, but the reading and the vocabulary, bang, too difficult. When you're learning Japanese in a language school, the difficulty goes like this. It's a straight line up, linear. But the progression that you have, especially regarding the reading, goes more like... So the higher the level, the more difficult it becomes. And in the end, I didn't get the best grades, but I was the best student. Sorry for the arrogance. Sorry, guys. Sorry. But I was definitely the best student. I had a very high attendance. I was doing the homework every day. I was doing everything. But still I failed. The teacher asked me to do the final speech for the school. And of course I said yes. But you know, this is a funny situation because your best student is failing the final exam. So that is not good. I also don't like tests very much, I have to be honest with you. There's no need for this in a language school. We are here because we want to learn. You don't have to put this pressure in the end. Oh yeah, but the level, you know, otherwise we don't know the level. The teachers know our level perfectly. They do not need the exam. But you know, in the Japanese sometimes have these systems and they are narrow-minded. So yeah. Also, this is another thing that I have to say. Children, when they learn a language, first they learn to speak, and then they learn to read and write. In a language school, you learn everything at the same time. You're learning kanji, you're learning to speak, you're learning the grammar, you're learning the order, because this is also part of the grammar, but this is very important. The place you put the verb in Japanese is different from English, and this requires a lot of practice. And if you give the students everything here, that's too much. After I began in a low intermediate level, because I already spoke some Japanese, I barely knew any kanji, but they put me in level 5 out of, let's say, 12, something like that. So 1 year, more or less, a year and a half, I was already reading Haruki Murakami. I didn't understand anything. That was too difficult. It was very, very, very complicated. I didn't get it, you know, like the way they are saying things and the way they are expressing everything is so difficult. Even if you know the words, you get like lost so many times. So this is not good. Japanese is my 4th language, but still, I got to the highest level, but I failed. I didn't pass the highest level. It was just too much. The reading was too difficult. I passed the speaking part, I passed the listening part, I passed the presentation, I passed the writing, but the reading and the grammar, that was too much. I didn't pass it. And that's not good, because I was very dedicated and I was studying a lot. And when you have a system where a good student doesn't pass the final exam, I think there's something you might want to change. Because this also comes down to another problem. If you are with Chinese students in the same class, your reading level is never going to be the same. You're going to have very big, you know, differences, because Chinese looks more like Japanese than English or Spanish or French or German does. And you have to take this into account. Even with people from other Southeast Asian countries, they really picked up on the learning very fast. Why? Because they are closer to Japan, and you know, proximity is very important in languages. Reading, writing, speaking, listening presentation classes. These were the 5 blocks, more or less, in which classes were divided. Every class we would learn 2 new grammar forms in the first 2 hours, and then we would focus in one of these aspects, okay? Both Kudan and SGG were not very demanding when it comes to students. Like there were other schools, like maybe Kai Language School or ISI, where the number of kanji and the number of grammar was way higher. Like in Kai, my friend told me that he had to study 10 new kanji every day. We studied 4 new kanji every day, they studied 10. And you know, the thing when you study a kanji is that it's not just the meaning of the pictogram that you have to study. You have to study all the words that come with it. So let's say that we have here mamoru, to protect, to safeguard. And there are many words that you can create with this kanji, like hogosuru, bengosuru, bengoshi, shugo, mamoru, which is the verb, you know, to protect, yogosuru. So it's not just the meaning, you have to study the meaning of the kanji, the different ways of reading it, like this one is like go or mamoru, and also the words that come from it. So maybe at least every kanji has 5 or 6 related words that you have to study. So if you are studying 4 kanji, that means at least 20 new words just with the kanji study every day. If you have 10 new kanji every day, that means you're gonna have to study at least 50 new words every damn day. In ISI, they've also told me that they have to study at least 4 or 5 new grammar forms every day. We studied 2. I prefer a more relaxed learning path. Why? When you are learning a new language, it's not about accumulating new grammar structures. That will make you crazy. What you have to learn to do is to use what you know in a fast way, to convey your thoughts or whatever, pa, 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 pa. So it's not about accumulating, but it's about using what you know in an efficient way. I think that the focus should be on the most important grammar structures, and then from that point on, practice, 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 practice. Because this is another problem. Point number 2, the curriculum, at least it was like this in SGG, but the curriculum was following the JLPT, the Japanese Language Proficiency Test. There's 5 levels. For you guys that don't know, there's like the
Level 5 is the easiest one, and there's the 4, 3, 2, and 1. 1 being the most difficult one. Very complicated to pass this exam. N2 is already difficult. It's not easy.
The grammar structures for N2 and N1 are barely used. The grammar structures for N2 are mainly for the professional world, or maybe for reading, or for more formal texts. N1, there were grammar forms that I was being taught that other teachers didn't know. I would be taught this grammar, and I would go to another teacher, and I would ask that teacher who was teaching the lower levels, I would ask that teacher, do you know what this means? And sometimes they didn't know. They did not know. Can you believe that? Well, that's the way it was, and that's not good, because you are learning a structure that you're never ever gonna use. I think it's better to take, again, the most used grammatical forms and just practice, 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 practice. Also, take into account that reading takes more time than speaking. This, please don't forget this. I don't go fast, I go slow. You know, I'm that, like, I used to joke with my friend, I look like a dyslexic person, you know, because I have to be pop, 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 pop. And then there is the keigo and the sonkeigo and the kenjogo and all these things, which basically means, you know, in Japanese, there's normal way of saying things, you know, the futsuke or the tamego, you know, the regular language. And then there are levels, which means that the words and even the verbs change depending on who you're talking to. If you're talking to your boss, or if you're talking to another company's boss, or you're talking to someone in the same level as yours, all these levels you will not be able to manage very, very quickly. Most likely, because it's too complicated. This is just like another language. But it's fun learning it. I'm not trying to discourage you. It's great fun, you know. I really had an amazing time. You're going to be able to speak your thoughts, and you're going to be able to communicate. No problem at all. You're going to be learning a very interesting language which is so different from yours that is going to help you, you know, have another perspective on life. Because people, we see the world depending on our language. The thoughts that we have, we think in images and words. And the way of speaking really shapes the way we see the world. So.
Durch des Himmels Strecke